My father's funeral, the lawyer revealed I'd inherited a $150 million mansion. My greedy mother-in-law said, "Sell it and give me all the money or pack your bags and leave." I replied, "I'll never sell it." She grabbed my hair and slapped me so hard, but the next morning I sent her such a shocking surprise that she was terrified. The sharp stain of her slap still burned across my cheek, each second stretching into what felt like eternity. My mother-in-law's face was a mask of fury, her eyes narrowing as she glared at me. The air was thick, heavy with tension, and all I could do was stand there, too stunned to react. I turned my gaze to Oliver, hoping for a sign of support, but he remained silent, rooted to the spot, letting his mother's rage fill the room. At that moment, a hollow sense of isolation settled over me. I was alone in this with no one willing to stand beside me. My name is Rachel, and I'm a 34-year-old architect living in Denver, Colorado. My life once felt secure, full of love, ambition, and a future bright with promise. Growing up, I was supported by parents who cherished me, and I had built a thriving career and married a man I believed shared my dreams. However, everything changed the day my parents passed away unexpectedly, leaving behind a remarkable legacy, a breathtaking mansion worth $120 million filled with memories and their aspirations for my future. My husband Oliver and I moved into this home shortly after their passing. The mansion held the essence of my family, a sanctuary I vowed to preserve, hoping it would become the place where we would build our own legacy. Oliver, a 36-year-old engineer, initially seemed supportive and shared in my excitement as we adjusted to life in the mansion. But everything shifted when his mother Helen discovered the full extent of my inheritance. What started as congratulatory visits and warm gestures slowly turned into requests, then demands. Helen believed she deserved a share of what my parents had left me simply because we were now family. One morning while I was working on a new project, Helen showed up unannounced, her manner insistent. She came straight to the point, and her proposition left me speechless. She wanted $15 million to purchase a luxury estate for herself, arguing that it was only fair she experienced the lifestyle I had lucked into. She phrased it as an investment in the family's future, making it clear she saw my inheritance as an asset she could freely tap into. "Rachel," she began with a forced smile on her face, "think of it as an investment in our family's legacy. If you're fortunate enough to enjoy luxury, shouldn't we all?" I felt a mix of disbelief and frustration well up inside me. Maintaining a calm tone, I explained that I couldn't justify giving away such a large portion of my inheritance. This mansion held sentimental value beyond just its monetary worth. It was a piece of my family's history that I was determined to honor. Her expression darkened. "So supporting family doesn't mean anything to you?" She turned to Oliver, clearly hoping to pull him into the argument. "Don't you think it's fair, Oliver? That Rachel shares part of her good fortune with us?" I glanced at Oliver, hoping he'd stand by my side, but he hesitated, visibly uncomfortable, caught between loyalty to his mother and me. "Rachel, maybe we should discuss this, maybe there's a way to help her out," he muttered, casting his gaze between us. My heart sank. The man I once believed would always support me now seemed unsure and unable to see the weight of what they were asking. "Oliver, this inheritance is my parents' legacy. They worked tirelessly to provide this for me, and I cannot hand it away so lightly," I replied, keeping my voice steady. Helen's eyes hardened, her voice tripped with scorn. "A whim? Rachel, don't forget how we've supported you since your parents' passing, and this is how you repay us?" My pulse quickened but I held my ground. "Helen, I've appreciated your support truly, but that doesn't mean I owe you $15 million. I'm happy to help in ways that make sense but this isn't one of them." Helen shot a glare at Oliver. Her frustration was clear. "Is this the woman you chose to marry, Oliver? Someone who puts money over family?" Oliver avoided my gaze, seemingly torn. "Rachel, it's not the entire inheritance. Can we find a way to compromise?" A wave of hurt washed over me. The person who was once my pillar now faltered and their expectations weighed heavily on me. I took a deep breath hoping he'd understand. "This mansion isn't just money, Oliver, it's my family's story. I've already sacrificed so much and I won't let it be taken over by anyone's demands." Helen scoffed, her voice laced with contempt. "Typical. You get a little money and suddenly you think you're better than everyone else. Family doesn't hoard, family shares." With that she stormed out, leaving a cold silence behind. I looked to Oliver, yearning for some validation, but he remained silent, his gaze fixed on the floor. Over the next few days Helen's tone turned more hostile, her visits filled with icy remarks and barbed comments about my so-called selfishness. Rather than standing up for me, Oliver grew more distant, his loyalty stretched thin. A few evenings later Helen arrived again, this time bringing Oliver's sister Lisa along with her. As they settled in the living room the tension was unmistakable, their expressions hard with resolve. I braced myself, feeling like I was walking into an ambush. Helen wasted no time, she said sharply. "Rachel, it's obvious you don't understand the importance of family obligations. We're all family and it's only fair we benefit from your good fortune. $15 million is a fair amount but you continue to refuse. It's selfish and frankly shameful." Lisa joined in, her voice dripping with accusation. "How can you live in all this luxury while we're struggling? Don't you see how wrong that looks?" I looked over at Oliver silently, hoping he would finally stand by me, but he sat there avoiding my gaze entirely. Taking a steadying breath I replied, "This inheritance was meant to secure my future and preserve my parents' legacy, not to fulfill demands that come from nowhere. I can't apologize for protecting what was left to me."